महिलाओं के कॉमर्शियल पायलट की भागीदारी को लेकर एक किताब लिखी गई। इस बुक को मनीषा एम पुरी ने लिखा। दिल्ली में आयोजित एक कार्यक्रम में बुक का विमोचन हुआ। दिल्ली मैनेजमेंट एसोसिएशन के चैट एंड चाय कार्यक्रम में पूर्व CEC सुनील अरोड़ा मुख्य अतिथि रहे। उन्होंने अपने विचार इस दौरान रखे भी। इस दौरान लेखक मनीषा एम पुरी ने भी अपने अनुभव साझा किए।
You have done 30 years, 35 years, but I have also given 5 full years of my life to IC. God has been kind, done many assignments, but even today, if somebody asks me, which is the assignment which you miss most, I would say that they're Indian Airlines. And there are sound reasons for that. And the first thing I did was that I spoke to Saudamani ji in Bombay, taking her number. Because technically speaking, across different spectrums and services, we are batchmates. I'm 80 batch of civil services, she's 80 batch of Indian Airlines. And then I requested her to send me an advance copy. And I can tell you that I have read each and every page of this book. Normally I read 2-3 times. First time I have done. Now I'll keep on reading and rereading it. Such a gripping book. Compliments to you and to you. Indian Airlines, as having been CMD, that's probably one of the biggest cockpits within the airlines. You don't look at weather charts and all that, but every single day you have some issue or the other. For example, I was Joint Secretary in Civil Aviation and I was given this charge of Indian Airlines. And even as Joint Secretary, we had to deal with it from a ministry, with this hijacking of 814. Since one of the charges I had was security, in that charge, one had to be much more than active than a normal Joint Secretary in that issue. And that time, one saw the worst of the Indian middle class, I'm sorry to say, and also the best of heroism. And you see, I was told to go to the airport and talk to parents and relations whose relations were there on the aircraft. We had come to know fairly early that Mr. Katyar had been stabbed. He was a young man who had gone with his newly married wife for their honeymoon to Kathmandu, and he was on this ill-fated flight in that sense. The person I saw with maximum fortitude that night was his father. He took me aside because he was also kind of listening to things here, there, this TV, that TV, this. He says in Punjabi, he says, "Chala gaya?" मैं कहा हाँ बाबूजी ठीक. And then instead of being rowdy like many people were on the TV, he next 4 or 5 days he kept on kind of telling others not to be rowdy, be patient and all that. Later on, we had taken his daughter Rachna in the airlines. He treated her like a daughter and married her off as a father. I still have Rachna's mobile number on my system in which I have written stroke IC-814, just as a kind of what. And then when I took over Indian Airlines, 6 months later this Patna crash happened. You had these pilots who were 20,000 hours, 18,000 hours. Captain Bagga was the commander, I still remember. Patna airport those days used to have some issue. Some trees and all that, their obstruction. And he had taken a circle early, it went into a stall and it crashed. It was one of the very few crashes in which 15 people came out injured and alive at that time. It's a different matter that out of those 15, 7 or 8 passed away. Next 1 month, I had just taken over. I got the message. I rushed to Delhi from Bombay, where I was there for the meeting, and we rushed to Patna. Stayed there for 3-4 days and saw the wonderful sights of the, probably at that time, the dirtiest hospital in the country, Patna Hospital. And nevertheless, also a lot of locals who had kind of rushed to the fields around to be of some assistance to those who they thought still had life or maybe having life. So that way India is a kind of strange admixture of endurance, chivalry, fortitude, courage, and at the same time, after the coming of TV and other electronic media, now of course social media is there, so TV is far behind, they kind of go to any extent to kind of give a pump to the issues, to highlight the issues in a way that they get a slant. Now that time, what was Indian Airlines? We had a first fuel rise of 18,000 to 19,000 per kiloliter, and within 3 more months from 19,000 to 23,000 per kiloliter. Now it's a peanuts, I mean. You can't even think that there is such prices. It's oil at kiloliter price at such dirt cheap prices. Our daily carriage, which was around 18 to 19,000 per day, had dropped to 14,000. But I am saying this, there are very few people from the airlines and few others, that we had all my colleagues in 5 or 6 years. I'll not bore you with more details, that will be coming separately in another book maybe. From 3,700 crore, if there is somebody who probably has a lot of commercial sense, Radhaji, the gentleman who stood here for questions, it went from 3,700 crore to 5,100 crore. You could have shown far more profit, 300 or 400 crore more. But it was a conscious decision that I would like to, and my colleagues would like to, we would like to modernize our equipment and also go for new planes. Airbus did not come in my time. That came much earlier.
Yeah.
I came, my tenure was 2000 or 2005.
These came in the late 80s.
But I started realizing that we have to, because at that time we had 3 kinds of aircraft. The old A300, gradually phased out, which was being maintained by Air India. 320, the Warhorse, and 737 of Alliance. Average age of 737 was 18 years, 300 was 22 years, and 320 was also almost going to 15 to 18 years. And above 15 years, as a pilot should know, you can fly an aircraft In fact, when the Patna crash happened, we got some data that there were more than 500 aircraft which was older than our 737, which were flying all over the world. It's a different matter that mostly they were in many parts, remote parts of Africa and all that. But the maintenance becomes very difficult. And on this occasion, the real compliment I want to give to my colleagues is that we had at that time utilization of aircraft annually was 2,800 crore, 2,800 hours. When I left the airline, it became 3,300 hours. There's no miracle. They are the people who flew, and the engineers and technicians are the people who maintained. And we maintained our on time, that's a different story. Why I'm mentioning this old airline issue, there's a reason for that. The book as well as the initial speeches, addresses gave reference to people working in home, especially working mothers, non-work, you are working, but who else is working to give, not working in the house, mother-in-law, to give you support. I have seen working women from my childhood. My late mother, who unfortunately passed away due cancer way back in '89, he was one of the first 3 postgraduates in English literature from the old Punjab University and worked all her life. My own daughter has done 12 years in US, finishing her advanced fellowship in cardiology, the heart transplant part, and has 2 kids, 6 years old and 3 years old. So we have a culture of all women are working. Just like maybe some males may not be working, but all women are working definitely. And have been working for years. The problem after an air crash is that in 9 out of 10 cases, along with the passengers, the pilot also goes down. And that is where the problem comes. Most pilots have this grudge, and most cases rightly so, that since we are gone, our version is not taken on board by DGCA. The way it should be taken. In fact, after Jyotiraj Scindia ji's passing away and after 2 more incidents, one involving Bal Yogi and one involving as a senior politician, the government had made me chairman of a small committee comprising the then DGCA and the then member of the airport authority, Ramalingam, member operations, to make some suggestions. We had made about 56 suggestions, both for rotary wing as well as for the fixed wing. Unfortunately, I checked up recently with a colleague, I think that was way back in the year 2002-3. I think about 20 still remain unimplemented. So maybe, but at least 36 have been implemented. And you have a full-fledged rotary wing now in the DGCA. And now you are going to have, in the next era, the drone wing. Already they have given charge to some joint director, but they are probably they'll have to have a full-fledged drone wing. I still recall that when they were playing on the voice recorder, Captain Bagga's voice in the DGC room, I was also sitting there. They had called me And it was virtually a, I'm sorry to say, friends, but even now you feel bad about it, very bad about it. It was a cry of death. The way he says, oh no, towards the end realizing full well that they are now going down. Just as there have been incidents of pilots being able to save the aircraft, avert the incident, and save the passengers. This incident which you related, and which is there in the book also, these are not small incidents. In hindsight, it may just seem prose, but when you're actually sitting in the cockpit, ma'am, you will know better. You hardly get between 5 to 7 seconds to actually react. And in those 5 to 7 seconds, you have to take a call.
And you have to perform under most stressful situations.
And yes, there are unruly passengers, there are unruly all kinds, but at that point of time, all you think is maybe only a pilot would know that in those 5, 7, 8, 10 seconds, what he or she would be thinking. And I must inform this honorable audience that by the time we people had taken over airline, women pilot was as much a norm, as competent, as operationally than anybody else. Whenever required, as unruly also. So, as a part of the ICPS and all that, which also there's a... No, I have dealt with all ICPS, Captain Ballas, to everybody I have dealt with in my life, so it's okay. And many of them are, by the way, they're still in touch with me. And even now, if something untoward happens, instinctively they talk to me. I get a good morning, sir, every day from Captain Nahar Singh, ICP. So on and so forth, there are several examples. We have been attending each other's marriages when invited, maybe once or twice, even when not invited. So that's okay. What I want to say today is a specific thing. You see, Indian Airlines was torn to shreds, not by the staff, not by the pilots, not by the engineers, but with all due regards by the system. Before 6 months prior to my own retirement, I wrote a letter which was almost 20 pages. That time this field acquisition and all these things, bilaterals were going on. Bilaterals, we kept on saying, sending us to Kabul, if you are sending us to all these SAARC countries, why don't you have a route dispersal guidelines for international flights for all airlines? It was not paid any attention to. Why should there be route dispersal guidelines only for domestic passengers? Even there we were always exceeding. I still remember we were doing 70% as against required 60%, so on and so forth. So finally, when I found that I was not getting any traction in that sense, I wrote a communication to the then highest civil servant, the then cabinet secretary, with a request that this communication should be shared only with the Honorable PM, because they are very sensitive matters. He called me to his office. You understand, I could see from his body language, he was heftier than me, even at his age, and a nice window in the cabinet secretary's office, must have seen many of you, that he should pick me up and throw me out. That maybe it was slightly difficult because I may not have been as hefty as he was, but not that light also. Then a debate started on route dispersal guidelines. I sent a second letter purely on bilaterals. Because you see, as all of you from the professionals here would know, that the routes are given, bilaterals are given, they are negotiated between a sovereign country to sovereign country, and not by the airlines, by the way. It's all over the world. All right, Singapore has given us 10,000 seats, we have given them 10,000 seats. But here the problem comes. How many airports, which in aviation terms we keep on referring them as ports of call, will Singapore give us? Only one, Singapore. Malaysia, basically one, Kuala Lumpur. Langkawi is hardly a airport in that sense. Thailand, Bangkok, maximum Phuket. We had a very clear policy that irrespective of the governments, we would not open our country beyond metros. To start with, it was 4 metros: Delhi, Mumbai, Calcutta, and Chennai. Kolkata now, sorry, Chennai. And then it became Hyderabad and Bangalore. And then the floodgates started opening in the name of tourism. In fact, one of the ambassadors, Indians, ambassadors in one of our Gulf countries, he says, much senior to me, also the brother of our BCS of those days, Mr. Iverly, who unfortunately passed away early. He said, Sunil, why they are giving so many routes? Even if you go to USA, any of us, most of you must have gone to USA once, twice, maybe more than once, twice. You have to take their own domestic airlines beyond their, what you call, bigger cities. And by the way, it is not at all a pleasant experience in US especially. My own daughter was living there for a couple of years. She is back to Hyderabad now. She come back to India. That those smaller aircraft of theirs and those very imposing honorable ladies who serve you in the aircraft and with whom you even dread talking, asking for a glass of water, they are there. But not the major airlines. Or the equipment given to the other airlines is much smaller compared to what you get in the metros from here. And we are opening 20, 23, 18, 19, this many number of destinations. And if you analyze, I request if you could include a part of that in your next book, I'll help you also, whatever little I know. And on this issue I know quite a bit. So you will see that the number of tourisms, there has not been any significant rise. We are still hovering on the figure of 3 to 4 million. That's all. And maybe when 9 to 10 million come in a particular year, we keep dancing couple of days and celebrating it. How many tourists does only Paris get? 30 million. London gets 25 million. And you have multiple examples on that side. So we wrote on bilaterals. I think that chapter in my forthcoming book, which I have already agreed with Rupa Publications Kapish Mehra, would have a chapter on bilaterals. And how Indian Airlines was systematically decimated. In between, I was MD of Air India also for about 7 to 8 months. Air India was also, they were decimated. With all due regards, one political person mainly and 4 or 5 bureaucrats. One of them is mercifully no more and to inflict further damage, but otherwise 4 or 5 bureaucrats that call it a cabal, call it a cartel, they all kind of somehow got together. Or at least their actions had a synergy that virtually finished our airlines. Government has done a wonderful thing giving to Tatas, to whom it originally belonged. That's a different thing. We have ourselves in the Indian Airlines. I have dealt with Tata, with SIA many times on the issue of ground handling and on the issue of in-flight. That is a different issue. But why the two airlines which were doing so well and which had such solid strength in every sense, why didn't they have to be decimated first and then reconstructed? So I think on 2nd April, when I had finished 2 years of demission of my office, I kind of signed a MOU, and I will have 3 parts in that. One is my journey in Rajasthan, 9 years with 2 chief ministers, and other issues, sundry issues of districts. And major would be Indian Airlines. And last but not the least would be elections of 2019 to Lok Sabha, in which I found that there are far too many, if not far too many fifth columnists trying to work from behind. Unfortunately, most of them were kind of intellectuals or bureaucrats, a combination of all of them. But anyway, I would not like to rouse your curiosity so soon. And the time they have given me is till next March. And the lady who is looking after the work there, Yamini, after Kapish Mehra, she's a very, very persuasive and very forceful lady. So, not the kind I've usually dealt with in my life. So, I'll not take more of your time. You have been patient enough. I would rather only make one small recommendation to the current management of Air India, since you are representative in a manner of speaking, that this book should be made a part of the compulsory curriculum of central training establishment. Earlier it used to be in Hyderabad. Now I am told everything is in Delhi. So it should be whatever. It should be made a kind of it should be compulsorily prescribed, so that the youngsters who still have doubts or who still do not have an idea of what it is all about, they probably learn a lot from it. At least as far as I am concerned, I have gone through it once. I'll go through it once or twice more as I normally do. But I think it is one of the most encouraging, well written, well thought out, well researched books I have come across. And Radhaji introduced me. Actually, I know Radhaji only when in the election commission we did our AWeb celebrations. Hers is Fulki Communication, and she is a terrific organizer. And the moment she called, and we have seen that time AWeb conference was held in Bangalore. India was to be elected president by rotation. It was India. In other words, that time I was a CEC, so as usual, that year is still not gone. In between COVID came, so, but that Bangalore function which she organized with people from so many countries, all our life one sees various levels of organizers, but she and her team, he met me just now, Ashish, when I said, so Bangalore? He said, no sir, I don't live in Bangalore. I said, I'm not saying that. He said, we all met there. So I met Bangalore team there today also, and one more. Sorry? She's gone also. Okay. Voice of her. So Thank you very much. I am grateful, and I am grateful to you, Anuradha ji. I spoke to her, I spoke to Sadamani ji. Today in the book, when I read this chapter of the daughters, both the daughters of Captain Devi Sharan, who are pilots, I spoke to him also. Why I am very happy, and I realized that the marriage of one of them, me and my wife had attended. He said, "Oh, I would have come, but I am going to Sydney. I am on a flight." So keep flying, and if now you don't do flying yourself, keep teaching, keep inspiring. Thank you.